Hello, ladies and gents. This is Iran just seized. Why not? Why not? Let's just do things. Let's just get ahead of the curve. Keep them guessing. Iran just seized the Chinese floating armory. Then the US military responded. So Iran is apparently attacking China. What does that mean? Seize the Chinese? Like, do they want to piss off Chinese people? I don't know what this is going to be about, but as soon as I read that title, I'm like, US-China talk just happened with Trump and Xi Jinping. Talk is out there like it's not confirmed, but there is like some talk like they talked elbow up type of way. Like, let's do something about like Strait of Hormuz type of way. Maybe Iran doesn't like that. I don't know. This is my channel, Max Afterburner, obviously. At this point, my go-to news about Iran and US things. Yeah, let's do this one.
It's May 15th, 2026, and Iran just seized a floating armory. It wasn't in the Strait of Hormuz. It was off the coast of the UAE, 38 miles north of Fujairah. Honey, did you leave the dryer on? Oh, also, did you leave the floating armory unattended? Seriously? Who was watching this floating armory that allowed Iran to just come in and scoop it up? Reports are saying
near UAE, so they're going inside now, inside the Gulf, and like taking ships that are stranded there now. Okay, that's insane.
The IRGC boarded a Honduras-flagged vessel called the Huichan, a Chinese-operated ship, and dragged it toward Iranian territorial waters. Oh, weird. There was just a floating armory there, happened to be linked to China. China's not giving them weapons. It was stolen.
What?
It was a stolen armory. China had no idea.
Oh, why didn't I even thought of that? Is that what's happening here? China is like, oh, they just stole it. We didn't give it to them. Is that what's happening? Okay.
That Iran was going to go scoop this thing up seems a little bit suspect, doesn't it? But here's what makes this specific seizure different from every other seizure in the war. The Huichan.
China's like, well, what is that? What, those are guns that just fall there. Is that yours, Iran? It's not mine.
Wasn't carrying oil, wasn't carrying passengers, wasn't carrying cargo, wasn't carrying any products from Temu, as China, we know, loves to drop off Temu products in Iran. It was a floating armory, a weapon storage vessel operated by a private maritime security firm stocked with guns that commercial ships transiting the strait used to defend themselves from piracy. And it literally brought the pirates in and let them take it. Yeah, there's a lot of suspect things going on here. And they did it, here's the interesting part, during the Trump-Xi summit while the American president and the Chinese president were sitting across the table in Beijing, agreeing that the Strait of Hormuz must remain open and Iran can never have a nuclear weapon. Meanwhile, it looks like China's like, yeah, we can't give them weapons outright, but let's put a floating armory packed with weapons. Who knows what was on that thing? And let's just have it be stolen. Oh, whoopsie, yeah, we didn't give them weapons, but the IRGC was caught boarding that ship 38 miles off the coast of UAE.
Okay, oil makes sense. These countries are oil and gas rich trading countries, let's just say. Why was a floating armory there? Does China sell weapons to like UAE, Qatar, Saudi, any of the people? No, so they only sell it to Iran. So is the justification is like China was selling to Iran, then this thing happened. Now China is not selling to Iran, but ship is still stranded there and Iran just went there and got it. Is that what the justification is? Like, what is China's justification? Why was this floating armory there in the first place? Because it's not like oil, it's not gas, it's weapons. I'm pretty sure China doesn't sell weapons to like UAE and all those countries. US does. I don't know.
United Arab Emirates, that's way over across the Persian Gulf from Iran itself. This doesn't seem like a coincidence. To me, it seems like this war has now stepped up in how Iran might be getting their weapons. So today we're going to cover a few things. First, the full picture on what's happened in the last 12 to 18 hours, because there's a lot. Second, what Iran is actually saying publicly, why the rhetoric coming out of Tehran is some of the most aggressive language of this entire war right now. And then third, what the mainstream media is not covering the US military, what they've already done to Iran's so-called pirate navy, and what's in the theater right now, preparing to maybe take down Iran's mini navy, the Mosquito fleet, that's been harassing and doing things just like this, seizing this weapons cache. And then remember, we're gonna do the roundup section as well, about 3/4 of the way through the video, latest breaking news from around the globe that you need to know. You guys loved this section for the last few videos, so we're gonna keep it going. But first, Iran seizing a floating armory during a superpower summit with the US and China meeting. And then Admiral Brad Cooper, the CENTCOM commander, was interviewed by Congress, and he told them under oath exactly what the US military has done and is prepared to do about events just like this. So whoever was the ship captain of that floating armory, can we talk to that guy? Can we ask him what he was up to? He's like, oh yeah, I was just in the restroom for 45 minutes. Next thing I know, we're...
Did they capture the captain as well? I'm guessing, right? People on the boat doesn't leave the boat times like this. Pretty sure they're on the boat as far as I know. So when they seized the guys, I don't know.
boarded by the IRGC, and now we're on our way to Iran. Weird. I had no idea that was going to happen. But let's build the full picture here and talk about what's actually happened in the past 24 or so hours and how these latest breaking events could change this entire conflict. So it looks like Trump and Xi Jinping have made an agreement publicly that both sides will agree that the Strait of Hormuz must remain open to support the free flow of energy to the world. They also both agreed publicly that Iran can never have a nuclear weapon. So that's a win.
They did?
Looks like a little bit of solidarity there. And then
Publicly, I didn't know that. Publicly, China said like, yeah, Iran can't have a nuclear weapon, point blank. None of the middle ground or like vague statements or avoiding the question. Did they point blank said like, yeah, we agree with USA, Iran can't have a nuclear weapon? Because if that's the case, that's a big one. Because Iran, China, Russia, these are the triangle, I guess you can call it. These are the people who rely on each other military-wise and many otherwise, right? Mostly like Iran rely mostly on China, I guess, I don't know. So China point blank saying that is a big one.
President Trump told Fox News that President Xi personally told him China would not provide military equipment to Iran, and he called that a big statement. But weird, a Chinese-linked vessel that happened to be stolen. Oh, we had no idea it would be stolen. This seems like some of the things that China might be up to behind the scenes. Oh, China's like, oh, the F-35? No, we didn't steal the F-35. It just happened that we made a J-35 that looked...
It's named J-35. Oh, what about if we replace F with a J? Oh, that's gonna work. Come on. Look at it. I mean, look, here's what I'm gonna say. Two planes can look similar. I'm not gonna criticize that. Because if a technology works a certain way, someone else makes similar technology that will look kind of similar because that's how physics work, right? Aerodynamics, how stealth should be reflected, right? I don't know how much changes you can do and still make it the same type of effective. Like if a 5th gen plane like F-35 looks like this, if somebody else were to make something like that, it should look something like this. So if it looks similar, that's not a problem to me. The point here is, before they even start developing J-35, the whole back room from Canada, I'm pretty sure, remember, Chinese-backed hackers hacked a lot of F-35, F-22, all these plans from Lockheed, right? It was Lockheed. And then miraculously, after like a year or two, you hear about, oh, this is like a new 5th gen plane, which China calls it 4th gen, I think. J-35 is out, J-20, then J-35. J-20 is, I think, like 4th gen, they turned into 5th gen somehow. But J-35 is a proper 5th gen plane. So that is where like, okay, really, you did that all by yourself? Come on. So what was that all hackers stealing document? What was that all about?
Looks exactly like the F-35. We had no clue the U.S. was even building the F-35. These are the kind of things that China does behind the scenes to be a little bit sneaky. Basically, the butler on Mr. Deeds is even impressed by China's move at this point.
Door, Hawaiian punch.
Wow! You kind of just snuck up on me there, man.
I fear you're underestimating the sneakiness, sir.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio was very direct. He said that we will never support an Iranian tolling system in the Strait, nor do we think they have a right to put mines in international waters. That seems pretty obvious. He added, and this part matters, we're not asking for China's help. We don't need their help. That is the U.S. telling Beijing, we appreciate the alignment. We don't need you to carry us. It's a different message than what you usually hear from a State Department briefing, but it does show that the U.S. is keeping its enemies close and it's keeping China closer. But the ink wasn't even dry on the Trump Z readout when the IRGC moved in on this weapons cache. A ship anchored 38 miles northeast of Fujairah, the UAE's primary oil export terminal. UAE is one of the main allies of the US in the Persian Gulf. It was boarded by unauthorized personnel and taken towards Iranian waters. I wonder who that was. Meanwhile, General Salami is like sitting in the background while they're stealing the boat. He's like, I gotta disguise myself. I'm no longer General Salami. I am now Colonel Mustard. Everyone on the ship call me Colonel Mustard. But the UK Maritime Trade Operations Center confirmed that the ship was a Honduras-flagged Huchuan, a Chinese-operated vessel functioning as a floating armory for weapons, ammunitions, and defensive gear for commercial ships. Who knows what could have been on that thing? Advanced electro-optical seekers for surface-to-air missiles or manpads. Anyone? Would China do that? Would they put any weapons on a ship that could be used to shoot down U.S. fighters? No, I'm sure China would never do that. Absolutely not. And then
See, the fear here is that when USA attacked, launch op whatever, like I don't care about semantics, when the operation started, China didn't know about that because nobody did, right? So China didn't have time to supply specific advanced equipment to Iran. There was a talk of like China supplying some like ship killer or aircraft carrier killer missiles here and there, supplying to Iran. But how easy it is when the USA is actively bombing you. But now with the ceasefire, right, and all these things like like slipping in a cargo ship here and there, now it's kind of like a scary point. I know I get a lot of comments from people there like China is just a paper tiger, this and that. You don't want to underestimate your enemy that much. China is the second biggest economy, second biggest everything, right? Military economy, everything. You need to give China credit. Like apart from USA, nobody got close the way China did. Their economy is like 15, 20 trillion. Third one, Germany, is at like 5 or 6 trillion, right? So look at the gap. Third one is like 5 or 6 trillion. Fourth one, India, is like 4 trillion. It's just like gap is that small. But compared to third and second, that's a much bigger gap. Granted that there's even bigger gap between China and USA, like nearly double type of way. But USA was always floating on top. The gap was always big. China getting close, that's a big one. So what I'm trying to say is like money and all the scientists based probably studied in Harvard and USA and things like that. And they went back and doing that thing now that is kind of propping up China's economy as well. So you kind of need to give them credit, like they could have something, right? Back channel, acquiring certain documents from USA. They could have weapons that would be problematic, is what I'm saying. So you don't want to write them off. So that's a scary point. Like, what if China gave Iran very specific, very advanced, equipment that makes things much harder? Like scanners, like Mach said here, scanners, like to detect certain things. Because look at, you gave only small amount of specific weapons to Ukraine, right? Javelins and certain things and certain advanced things. That basically turned the tide for Ukraine. And they were fighting back to Russia. Otherwise, they had no chance. Certain really powerful technologies can change things. So if Iran has certain these things, you could have like damage and casualties towards America. It's not going to change anything. There's no way in hell USA ever lose against Iran. But now you have casualties. That's what I'm saying. So next few weeks is going to be very interesting what happens.
A second vessel near Oman was also attacked and reportedly sank recently. Iran doubled down publicly with a senior official reiterating Iran's claim of sovereignty over the strait and asserting Iran's right to seize oil tankers connected to the United States. So as we can see, Iran is not nothing. Their Mosquito fleet and their mini navy can be a real pain in the you-know-what. And then remember, there's a ceasefire, that's a non-ceasefire ceasefire is the best way I would put it, brokered on April 8th by Pakistan, who's...
I'm on diet. I only eat bread, a lot of cheese. I don't eat meat. And I only eat at certain hours. I'm on full-on diet. That's not diet, man, right? Is the diet right or was a thing? I'm on a fast. Sorry, not diet. I'm on a fast. Full day fast. I only eat certain things. Then you're not on full day fast. That's not what fast means. Ceasefire literally means cease fire. If you still fire, you didn't seize any fire.
also housing Iranian aircraft, Iranian spy aircraft in Pakistan. Yeah, Pakistan, thanks so much for holding these different mediations, but at this point, it's pretty clear that Pakistan might be a wee bit compromised. But the Trump administration said that the ceasefire is on massive life support earlier this week, and Trump called Iran's latest counteroffer that was relayed through Pakistan totally unacceptable and stupid. Obviously, Iran is going to try to tap along the world as long as they can here. Now, everyone is growing impatient with the continued closure of the Strait of Hormuz, but Iran's got that IRGC Navy, and it looks like there's hundreds, if not up to 1,000 of those Mosquito attack boats. And those Mosquito boats are likely the ones that went in and took this weapons cache. But it looks like there was no fighting. And you got to think, if it's a weapons cache boat, there's going to be a security team, a lot of security teams on there. So was that security team told to strategic?
Look, man, granted this, if Iran sends multiple fast boats, how many security is going to be on this ship? How many can you even jam on it? I'm pretty sure Iran can overwhelm it. So, but then again, is there any news of massive gunfire? Like, I don't know, man. But even if it's there, who would know? And it's not like Iran's going to put out the news, so I don't know.
Take a little restroom break. Hey guys, you guys have been working hard protecting these thousands of weapons on this weapons cache. Why don't you go on a little sea tour, go look at the coast of UAE and enjoy yourself. Maybe swing in, do some indoor skiing. They've got indoor
Buy
skiing.
yourself
You guys want to do
something
that
nice
for a couple hours? Don't worry, I'll watch the ship. We'll all be fine. This is
Here's a few bucks. Buy yourself something nice. Don't spend it all in one place. That's what happened here.
just so weird that this boat was taken and there wasn't a security team there. There should be a massive security team there. There should be Navy SEAL level security on a ship like this because of what it could be used for. So now Iran just basically got a frigate, actually bigger than that, an oil tanker sized boat full of weapons. Who knows what's on that thing? We'll get into that here in a second. But now
remember what he said there. Oil tanker level size. Remember that size. If you haven't seen oil tanker, check it out. Remember that size. How much weapon? What type of weapon? That is some next level thing. One tanker could be enough to supply a lot of important weapons. That size is insane.
the U.S. is going to have to fight against that. But luckily, the U.S. is ready, and we saw that recently with General Cooper's interview to Congress. But now there's going to be more weapons on the battlefield as the U.S. seeks these high-stakes negotiations to try to get Iran to come to the table. 440 kilograms of uranium that's supposedly already enriched to 60%. That's dangerously close to weapons grade. That's kind of the big domino here that's on the table. That's the big 4D chess question, if you will. You guys know I love saying that, and that section's coming up soon. But the whole goal here would be to get Iran to the table for a 15 or so year moratorium on that uranium. They're saying they want to do a 5-year moratorium. So basically just trying to kick the can down the road so they can get a nuclear weapon to protect the Strait of Hormuz. But here's an interesting thing. The Iranian regime came out, the IRGC came out and said, oh, the Strait of Hormuz is our nuclear weapon. So they see that as their number one domino. They're focusing on it. They're putting all their different IRGC Navy fast attack boats. That's their focus. Put all their resources into that. And if they can cripple the world's economy and make everyone go down with the ship, that's what they would love to do. However, the US military has a little something to say about that. Iran's like that bad ex. They're like, yeah, we'll basically come to the table and do everything you want. And then they come to the table and they're like, yeah, we're not going to do any of that. Sorry, we were just gaslighting you the whole time and we're surprised you believed it. But now that we know Iran's rhetoric is up to level 11, let's cover a few of their quotes and then we'll get into what the US military would do to crush Iran's mini navy. Sun Tzu said, know your enemy, know yourself, and you need not fear the result of 100 battles. So let's actually know this enemy, not the cartoon version that they put out, but the real one. Iran's parliament speaker, Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf, who is also their chief negotiator in the nuclear talks, even though he basically just got his rights read to him by the IRGC, telling him that he's now the puppet of the IRGC. He posted this on social media. Our armed forces are prepared to deliver a lesson-giving response to any aggression. Of course, he's going to say that. And then the other big statement was what we talked about a second ago with
somebody should reply like at big level. Somebody should like, how? You know what? How? Give me one example. How? How are you gonna do that? And by many ways. How many ways? You would have no idea. I want an idea. Give me. You have no idea, my man. How? You've been saying this for past 2-3 months, and you only thing you did is like shoot down F-15, and they went in and rescued the guy using some insane CIA level equipment. Like, how are you gonna fight America?
With Iran calling the Strait of Hormuz their nuclear weapon. Obviously, that's their focus. They know if they can pressure the world long enough and not get a coalition to come together to open the Strait of Hormuz, then at that point, they might actually get the U.S. to leave. That's their whole goal. That's what they want the U.S. to do. They want the U.S. to leave. They don't want to come to an agreement, and they want to keep extorting the world with the Strait of Hormuz. But now that we know the enemy, we know they've got those fast attack craft. They've got
China needs Strait of Hormuz. India kind of also needs Strait of Hormuz as well because of oil and a lot of gas related things, industries needed. So if not now, few months from now, there will be a time people like, you know what, I don't care. Things are dragging out too much. Now I need to secure my shipment. And countries like China and India will probably start sending navies for their shipment at least, if not more. So that might happen, right? So I don't think how long this can last where IRGC keep threatening Strait of Hormuz. I don't know how long this is going to drag out.
12.7 millimeter heavy machine guns on their fast attack boats. They've also got those anti-ship cruise missiles that they can supposedly attach to those fast attack craft. Likely some of the larger fast attack craft could have that, but they're also hiding those anti-ship missiles along the coast. Don't worry, enter the U.S. Air Force and the U.S. Navy along with the U.S. Army, AH-64 Apaches. But at this point, one of the main aircraft that would be taking down these fast attack craft
A-10.
is the A-10 Warthog. We've covered it a lot on this channel. This thing has gotten new life. It used to be called the Tank Buster. Now it is lovingly being called the Boat Buster. And the reason why is because it has high explosive incendiary rounds or even depleted uranium rounds.
It should be called Ego Buster at this point. Because every time this is used, it busts someone's ego. Whether it's something like Iran, like, you know, like fast boats or something, or ego of senators in USA. For being so useful. It's ego buster, that's what that is.
I mean, these are 20 millimeter bullets from an F-15E. Think about a 30 millimeter bullet for the A-10. Sorry, little buddy, you feeling a little insecure with me talking about a 30 millimeter? Don't worry, no, you're really capable, you're really awesome. And trust me, these things are awesome. I fired them in combat and they basically have little mini exploding tips when they're in a high explosive incendiary mode when that round is put on these things. But you just can't really compete with the A-10 Warthog. I mean, the 30 millimeter gun on that thing, that is the crowd pleaser that pretty much...
And imagine how fast it shoots one after another. Bullets hit at when bullet hits at one point, there are multiple bullets like that passes through because that's how fast it is. It's a Gatling gun, big ass Gatling gun, 30 millimeter, and it's insanely fast. Those big things on top hitting you multiple times in one place, that's insane. If it hit a human, like that would be like Fallout level, you know, like animations, let's just say, where like things fly everywhere.
Everyone wants to see going up against these fast attack craft, and they're ready. Dozens of A-10s in the region. To me, that's the #1 tactic to go up against an enemy that goes low tech. Oh, okay, cool. You're going to send pirates to go seize a weapons cache? Well, take a weapons cache that might have been strategically, hey, don't steal our boat. China's like, do not steal that weapons cache. Here are the coordinates to the weapons cache. The weapons cache coordinates we just sent to you on Signal. Enjoy that. And now we're going to go ahead and take a smoke break out back. Oh, weird. Someone stole our weapons cache. But this is the ultimate jet.
I'm surprised USA didn't say like, oh, don't worry about that. Don't be surprised if you blow that armory up and just blow the tanker before it even reaches Iranian port. I'm surprised by that.
The A-10 Warthog, I mean, even if it was up there, seeing this pirate mini-navy take that, they could have rolled in and strafed it. But it looks like this was some sort of a clandestine operation behind the scenes, basically sneaking in and taking that Chinese vessel without China having any idea. China's just hanging out. China's just that guy that's like, oh, weird, our weapons cache? Oh man, never saw that coming. Yeah, we're just like a guitarist. We just like live in our mom's basement and just hang out. We had a weapons cache? We had no idea that happened. Yeah, yeah, China, we see you. But the A-10 Warthog, that is the #1 platform in my opinion. When the enemy goes low tech, okay, cool. You wanna go low tech? Cool. We'll go low tech as well. the A-10 Warthog boat buster is likely the one that will be leading the charge, along with another platform that we haven't talked about too much, and that is the AC-130J. That is a gunship that has basically a mini howitzer on it. Sorry, so 20 millimeter, 30 millimeter, feeling a little insecure? Well, yeah, that's because the AC-130J has a mini howitzer.
When you have to do bicep curls, that gives you arms big as mine, just to lift an ammo and put it inside, yeah, that howitzer is something.
On it. Good luck competing with that. But I'll be doing a full video on the AC-130J likely tomorrow, so tune in for that.
All
but
right.
Before we go any further,
I'm going to tune in for that. I love AC-130. I've been saying for past 2-3 months, where is AC-130?
I want to bring you into the section that some of you have been waiting for, and that is the roundup section. And here we go. These are the stories around the globe that you need to know. So Russia is hammering Kyiv the same day that Trump met with Xi. So on that same day, Russia launched a massive drone missile attack on Ukraine.
Is that supposed to be a message to Trump? How Ukraine is not USA? Like, yeah, USA is like helping Ukraine, but right now USA is their own thing. How does that send any message? I don't know.
Ukraine's capital, killing 1 person and injuring 31, with damage reports across 6 districts. And the Council of Europe simultaneously finalized a special tribunal for the crime of aggression against Ukraine. So we'll see if that goes anywhere, but obviously Russian leadership is ramping up these.
Is an international court already sent out a what do you call it? Bounty? Not bounty. What is it called? Like order to arrest Putin? If Putin goes to any other country that is not pro-Russia, Putin is supposed to be arrested by international, what is it called? ICC or something? I don't know, international court. So what is this tribunal going to do? The same thing?
Attacks right now instead of letting them layer down. So it looks like they're just trying to get a better bargaining position. Next story. U.S. Coast Guard has burned 3 narco subs off the coast of Colombia. The U.S. Coast Guard Tahoma, operating with Southcom and the Joint Interagency Task Force, interdicted 3 suspected narco trafficking vessels off the Colombian coast when the vessels failed to comply with stop orders. A helicopter crew, and this is just
What is that, a sniper rifle? What sniper rifle?
awesome, used precision sniper fire to disable their engines. All 9 suspects were
Oh, it is one, right? Look at that.
rescued and arrested. Authorities seized 6,000 pounds of cocaine, a street value of roughly $45 million. I think we should just give that money to the Coast Guard for doing these awesome, insane, highly risky operations.
First of all, no, it is worth that money for the people who use those things and give out money. Those things itself isn't worth anything to the government because government are not supposed to sell them. So it's like, it only matters how much that worth if it's in the hand of the criminals. In the hands of the government, those powders are basically powders that you throw it out into like ocean or something. I don't know. Not throw it out into the ocean. We don't want orcas or killer whales, as you call it, on cocaine. We don't want that.
I mean, well done, Coast Guard. That's just awesome. And that leads us to the 4D chess strategic analysis section. So what does Iran actually want from getting that floating armory? Well, they're potentially getting low on weapons. I mean, their economy is in complete disarray. They've lost $500 million a day, so they probably are getting low on their stockpiles. They needed more weapons. So whoever got that to them, some behind the scenes, weird, an entire armory seized by the IRGC, potentially filling gaps in the IRGC proxy army, getting them the weapons they need. And those are probably small arms.
You know, that is a good point. What is money? Let's think about it. We say they're losing 500 million, but what does that mean? In the end of the day, at this scale, it might as well be trade. So let's just talk about trade. All right, they need weapons. They just acquired weapons, so that's solved. They need food and water and all that. But if it becomes much worse, countries like China can just say humanitarian effort and would give them anyway. So what else is left? Maybe certain luxury things that they can say, like, I don't care about that right now. So does money loss even matter to IRGC at this point? They acquired the weapon. They'll get the food and water on basis of humanitarian effort because people, like, world cannot let the people starve. So I guess, does that even matter if they're losing money? I don't know. They already have the oil, right? That's another thing. They have it. So they're not any, like, they don't have to worry about that thing.
AK-47s, shoulder-fired weapons like RPGs, potentially even mines. We don't know what kind of mines could have been on that ship as well. So it looks like there could be some big powers out there that look to see a strategic win in keeping the Strait of Hormuz closed for now and keeping Iran's mini proxy navy, mosquito navy. I kind of like mini navy. That's kind of fun to say. So it looks like potentially
The problem here is it could just be simple thing as saying FU to USA. It could be as simple as that. You think like, no way, no, it could be. Because USA has been flying so high in the sky that countries like China might be like, you know what, I guess USA can use an L. So USA doesn't flex anymore on all of us. So it could be as petty as USA loses. I don't know what that means. Loses what? Like, I guess don't get the ideal result. Is that a loss? But China might be like, the more Strait of Hormuz stays closed. Yeah, we have an oil issue, but we'll figure that out. But the more USA struggles, the better. So at the global stage, at least like USA can't flex. It could be as simple as that.
China might have an interest in keeping disarray and chaos in the Strait of Hormuz for now. The leverage might not quite be there for China to see the U.S. having more control over the strait being in their interest, because obviously if they are to try to take Taiwan, they're going to need that flow of oil from the Strait of Hormuz to come from Iran and not be controlled by the United States. What do you think happens from here? Would love to hear your thoughts. Let me know in the comments below. I read all the comments and I try to respond to all the ones within
I don't know what's going to happen, man. But yeah, it's interesting what's going to happen in the few days. If China takes Taiwan, is the bigger issue than people realize. TSMC, man, that is not a small thing. Even Intel, who have their own fabs and make their own micro chips and everything, they are using TSMC now because their thing apparently sucks. So they're like, fine, we'll use TSMC's fab, and they're making new processors. TSMC is basically de facto microchip maker when it comes to major things like satellite, AI. NVIDIA things are TSMC. Without NVIDIA, there is no AI. So entire AI infrastructure, which basically is right now entire American economy. If TSMC goes, American economy takes a major hit. If American economy takes a major hit, global economy takes a major hit. So Taiwan isn't just something. It's a very small part of the world, very small, but it's basically instrumental. It would be very weird if USA lets China take over Taiwan. I don't think that's going to happen, because that's a money hit at a whole other level, especially for USA. Right, well, there you go. If you like my content, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.